This sweet, sweet little video is protected by fair use. It is not for profit. It is for free. It is for the purposes of criticism, commentary, education, and teaching. Thanks for watching. Enjoy. Help support my channel. Please like this video. It takes half a second. It helps my content be found by the YouTube algorithm. If you enjoy this content, then please like this video. Subscribe, hit the bell. Make sure you hit the bell button, select all notifications. This video is for mature audiences only. Mature subject matter, it's for adults only. Viewer discretion is advised. Enjoy, enjoy. We bring the madness. Hey everyone, this is just for educational purposes and for entertainment. Alright? This is the other famous book by King James I. It's called Demonology of King James I. The original edition is from 1597, written by King James I. This is a new edition, 2016. Here's who it's edited by. I just got this book not that long ago. I have looked through some of it. I have been busy, so I haven't read the whole book, but it is a short book. It's only 75 pages. It's a very light book. You can go through this fairly quickly. It's the size of like a chapbook almost. It's very small, but it's not very much money. It's not very costly. So if I were to say, is it worth it for, under $10 for a hard copy book these days, brand new? And if you get it on Prime or something, Amazon, delivered for free, of course. So free delivery and like under $10, yeah, I would say it's worth it. I would say that the person that put this together did a good job and that it's worth that money. So I would recommend that you buy it. I know that it's public domain, but he did some editing and, did some work with this book. And I'm going to respect that and not read the whole book. I'm just going to read some excerpts from it, and that's it. Okay. I did buy the book, so this is a picture that I took of my cover of my book, which I'm allowed to obviously share with people. And I'm not doing this for profit. I'm not profiting off someone else's work. This is not for profit. This is just a criticism and for educational purposes only. I'm not making a dime. It's non-profit. And that's what we're going to do here. So King James I, obviously, is famous with most Christians for the King James Version, KJV, of the Bible. And this is his other famous book. I always call it his other famous book. Called it that for years, Demonology. All right? There's various versions of this. Heard a lot of good things about this edition, so I thought I would check out this one. I thought I would share a little bit with you. Okay, so here we are on the back cover here of Demonology, or the full title, The Demonology of King James I. Shows 75 pages, has this little winged design here with what looks to be like an Ouroboros with a crescent moon inside. The Ouroboros almost looks like a dragon, not just a serpent, but it is a serpent most likely. So it's a winged Ouroboros with a crescent moon inside. I don't know whether it's this guy's design or he hired an artist, but pretty cool. White text on black. I mean, it looks pretty good to me. Aesthetically is what I'm speaking about. Anyways, I'm going to read this part. So it's right on the back cover. Anybody could read that picking this book up in a bookstore. The Demonology of King James I forms one of the most intriguing and well-made texts of the burning times, Crafted at the end of the 16th century, it details the nature of sorcery, witches, Satan, fairies, and hauntings, simultaneously blasting witchery and papistry. King James prescribes various witch hunting methods, classifies demons, and suggests the sole method of dealing with all forms of witches, including those practicing the healing arts, namely death. So basically by drowning. They float, they're a witch. If they sink and drown, they're innocent. So there's no way to win. All right? That's what this is saying. So for the Christians that hype up the King James Version of the Bible, even just reading the synopsis on the back cover should make you step back and say, was he a moral man? Was he a good and moral and decent man? King James the First? Look what he did to people. Okay? Including witches, those practicing the healing arts, meaning witches that were using tinctures, herbs, herbalists. They might have been, quote, Wiccans, and they didn't necessarily have to use that title or label. But witches have been into healing others. There are healing arts with potions and herbs and tinctures that they mixed up themselves, and also essential oils and various things. Alchemy, okay? And this was harming no one, hurting no one. It had nothing to do with demons. It had nothing to do with power over others or violence. This was a great crime against the witches that were practicing the healing arts. And I want to stress this, practicing the healing arts. What happened to them is an atrocity. It's a travesty. And it should show you something about King James and Christianity and the whole system of this hell realm, even beyond Christianity. This hell realm. Because, in Sharia law, even today, they will cut your hand off if you're suspected of stealing. Literally. I don't want to get gross, but if you have, if you're sensitive at all, I wish I had never seen them, but I saw one years ago, and it was real. It was on YouTube, and they allow that kind of violence, and they'll put strikes against my videos when I'm exposing the violent demons on here. It really is incredible, this place, this hell realm, not just YouTube, but this hell realm. It is incredible what they do to the innocent and what the guilty here get away with. It is just incredible, and it has to end. It has to end. It's not just me saying I want it to end, or that it's going to, or it should. It has to end. Has to. That is the moral thing to do, to end this. To end this. And that is what motivates me and drives me. Okay? No matter if I'm in pain, no matter if my stomach hurts or whatever I'm going through, whatever it is, insomnia, whatever else, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to be untouchable out of this body, because I know there's so many things they can't even come close to doing, because it won't work. They can't starve me. They can't physically harm me. They can't, make me pay rent or make me do this or, threaten homelessness or jail. There's a lot they can't do to me. And there's a lot that I can do to this evil system. Okay? So anyway, this is part of the reason why I'm covering this. To lift the veil and show people, this is your King James the First. This is the one that Catholics put up on a pedestal and say, this is the best version. They only go by KJV. So there's millions of Christians that only go by the KJV version of the Bible. The King James Version, the KJV edition. That's the only one they'll go by. Okay? What was King James? Well, I'll say it in the voice of that guy that made videos about me a long time ago, months ago. What was King James the First? He was a daemon, mate. He was a daemon. He was a daemon. That's what he really was. That's what he really was. And that's what Christians are following. Christians, Catholics, Protestants, you name it. You name it. Okay? He was a daemon, mate. A daemon. That's really what he was. We're going to explore this a little bit deeper. Alright, so right inside the front cover is showing the title page, the edition. Original edition was in 1597. Obviously, this is not an original edition. This is a new edition they came out with in 2016, edited by Tarl Warwick. And it is the Demonology of King James I. Look into it a little bit here. Ready? Let's rock. And the Christians will hear that laugh. They hear my laughter and they say, it sounds demonic, it sounds demonic. You're following demonic books by demonic royals, by Freemasonic demonic royals. That's what you're following. I don't follow demons. You do. You do. So this is the foreword here. I didn't quite get it all in this image, but I do have it all right in my hand. So, if I can just flip to forward, I can read some of it to you. Okay, Demonology forward. King James I is notable for this contribution to occult lore. In an age where most monarchs were uninterested in philosophy and more zealous in expanding their borders than in ruminating on sorcery, James chose to write a fairly lengthy, for the time period, dialogue between two characters, Epistemon and Philomaths, subject of Satan, witchery, demons, sorcery, necromancy, and related topics. Originally thus written in Old English, the dense manuscript prescribed the general methodology of finding out and persecuting a witch, the different manners of spirits, several of which James determines to be conjoined to a single class in different expressions only, the difference between, for example, sorcery and necromancy, and the existence of and manner of fairies, which had been alluded to by some within his realm as natural (airy) spirits of non-demonic but supernatural nature. Common with the Catholic movement of the era, which saw its own share of witch trials and pogroms against herbalists and ritual working, James holds true to the general notion at the time of, quote, swimming the witch, end quote, that because of their lack of godliness and refusal of baptism, their body will refuse to sink into any clear pool of water, such as a lake or stream, while also endorsing the notion that witches often have a mark upon their body laid by Satan, which is, quote, insensible, end quote, and thus cannot bleed or feel any pain. However, the manuscript is riddled with references to the quote, papists, Catholics, and their heresy, with an obviously biased but quite astonishing theory that witchery and possession had been less common in the Catholic era in his realm because Satan sought to convince people that Catholicism, which he regarded as heresy, was the true religious path they ought to follow. An example of Satan perhaps comprehending the concept of reverse psychology. Likewise, Satan's power was growing, according to King James, because the end times were already upon the land. Bracket, the white horse of Revelation, in his opinion, having already rode across the land, end bracket, and because of the numerous sins his people indulged in. Texts from the period tended to regard, I'm going to read that again. Start over. As texts from the period tended to regard, James states that women are far more commonly bewitched or given to witchery than men due to their frailty of mind. Wow, that's me saying wow. I will note here that he mentions Agrippa's bracket spurious end bracket fourth book explicitly, while apparently not being aware of Agrippa's work on female preeminence. Add my comment here. That's a bit interesting. I'm going to have to look into that. Female preeminence. Wow. Anyway, carrying on with the reading. This is the book again. Within this edition, every step has been taken to render the text readable to the modern audience. The English used by King James, as by any other English author of his era, was in such archaic form that roughly a quarter of the words used needed to be changed out for their modern equivalent. The spelling of recognizable words was also changed. For example, devilish, and it's spelled capital D, E-V, I-L-L-I-S-H-E, in quotes, to devilish, and that's the modern form, capital D-E-V-I-L-I-S-H. So he's changing it from the old English, O-L-D-E English, into modern. So that is interesting. Fairly concise forward. It's just like less than two full pages. So well done for that. Then there's a preface, or preface, as some people say. I call it a preface. Go on to the next image here. All right, so I'm just going to skip the preface, and I'm just going to read this top part. The devil's contract with the magicians, the division thereof in two parts. What is the difference betwixt God's miracles and the devil's? So this is it's an interesting book. I have just skimmed through some of it. All right, I didn't read every page, obviously. And I'm not going to read every page with this. I'm going to end it fairly quickly. But I just wanted to show you that you can look into certain things like this and think about it. This book presents it as dialogue between two, which is similar to what, let's say, a book written by Plato would do long before, or supposedly long before, King James the First. So he's using this format of a conversation, a dialogue between two, and which can be interesting. And he goes into philosophical things a little bit, into witchcraft, devils, and all these different things. And as you can see right here, deacons in the craft. So he's against Catholicism and the Vatican as much as he is against witchcraft and demons, but at the same time he's behaving like a demon in the way that he treats people. So it really is complex when you look at it that way, when you look at the history and not just the text itself, when you really go into it deeper and you really think about it. You don't just read, but you think about what you're reading and what was done, okay, and how things were in that era, in that time period, and how things are excuse me, and how things are today in our time period. I got to get a drink of water. Just pardon me for a second. Okay, okay. Pardon me, people. So, it is interesting to look into things like this. And I want to say that a lot of Christians and New Agers too would say, don't look into that. It's negative, it's dark, this and that. They'll try to warn you against looking into this stuff. They're afraid themselves. They're afraid of the truth. They're afraid to look. They pretend everything is light. They pretend if you look into this stuff that it's negative, it's dark, it's bad, you're wrong for doing it, try to shame you, guilt you, and everything else. I'm trying to understand this realm. And this reading books like this is not so much me trying to understand history or King James as a person or even as a royal or a monarch. I'm trying to understand something deeper about this realm itself. Okay, a bigger picture. And that's why I keep emphasizing big picture thinking. Think bigger, expand your consciousness, expand your view of this realm. Don't have tunnel vision. So why am I against tunnel vision? Because that just keeps you at a certain level. it keeps you brainwashed. It's what Christians are doing to themselves. It's what many flat earth Christians do. They have tunnel visions. They get tunnel vision. They get stuck in a rut. They get stuck at a certain level. They don't go beyond it. They stop short. Okay, think of it this way. I'll give the analogy of running a marathon. I see some of them, they stopped in the first block, and they're raising their arms, cheering, saying, I'm awake. They have their arms up in the air like they passed the finish line. I'm saying, dude, you've got 26 miles left. You ran 1 or 2 blocks. You got a long way to go. What are you celebrating like you won? You didn't win. You're new to this. You got a lot to look into. That's not an insult. And then with some people, the one guy said on my channel, it's kind of unrelated, but in a way it's a little bit related. He said, please stop saying felon is an insult. Well, who says I'm just saying it as an insult? I'm calling out truther felons. And then he goes on to say his grandpa was a felon because of weed. Well, you're missing the point. I'm talking about sex offenders. Like, you haven't watched my videos, obviously, to look into who I've been calling felon truthers. And then he'll say, well, it's the system word. It's people that felon just means they oppose the government. No, it doesn't. They harmed people. Okay? They harmed people for life. You don't understand. I don't use words just as, quote, insults. Maybe you do. And that's where people get way off, They really do. They get way off with this stuff. Who do I call felons? Well, actual felons that have committed violent crimes. Those are the ones that I'm calling felons. So if you want to defend Jason of Archaics and then defend Chrissy Pissy, where they've committed, crimes that I can't even go into detail, risk my channel on YouTube. They've done harm to others. Okay? They've done harm. And they believe in doing harm, and they speak about it. So if you want to defend them and you get hung up on a word like, oh, I don't like that word being used, dude, you can go over to their channel and defend them. You can praise them in their comments if you want to. You can say, hey, the Sanity Machine's bad because he's been calling you guys felons. I mean, there's thousands of people on those channels that praise them for being felons and defend them. You go right ahead. But at that point, I do think you're on Team Evil. So you might want to give your own head a shake and check yourself and say, you know what? This word shouldn't bother me so much that Stephen's using, because he's actually using the word properly, and he's not just using it as an insult to attack people that are innocent, that aren't felons. He's applying it to violent felons. Okay? So there you go. And there's certain words. So he said, why don't you use the words for their crime? You might not understand YouTube. If I use certain words like a capital R that has to do with certain offenses, I could lose my channel for telling the truth and for using a certain word. But using felon, you're okay to use that. And it kind of conveys the point, and it is true. The guy was sentenced to over 30 years in prison. So anyway, some people, this guy wrote me pages in a comment. Some people get really triggered by the use of certain words, just like they do with demon. If you want to get hung up on words that I'm using, nitpick, and get triggered, please go find a safe space. Please. It's not just to that one person. I'm not singling somebody out. It's to anyone. You want to get hung up on me calling them a demon and say, well, that's out of the Bible, or Christians tend to use the word demon. The word demon or daemon is really not Christian. I don't care if Christians use it. I'm allowed to use every word that they use. You see on the screen it says devils and contract and magicians. I'm allowed to use all of those words. So you think that their words are off limits or out of bounds because some king fucking used them? I don't care who's used them. I'm free to use every single word in every single language, including languages that are archaic or extinct, if I want to. Okay? So don't try to control my language saying, don't use this word, or I don't like this word. Fuck off. Is me being blunt. Fuck off. Got that? Go to a safe space, and I'm going to say it very calmly for you. Find a safe space. Even if you have to go onto a university campus, or, I don't know, a psych ward, they might have safe spaces, or a prison or jail, or wherever. They have them, though, especially in the United States. Okay, USA and Canada, and I think they have them, too, in the UK, college campuses. Find yourself a safe space. I'm not kidding you. Get a little security blankie in there, cover up, get a coloring book, and Kool-Aid, a little cup of Kool-Aid, maybe in a sippy cup, the ones that toddlers use with the straw built in, and some Care Bears and some coloring books and crayons, and sit down on the floor at a little kiddie table and fill in, do the coloring with the coloring book with the crayons, and just, go right back to, regress right back to being an infant again. Because you don't control my mind or my language, the way I think, the way I express myself. You don't control me at all. At all. At all. And if you step over the line too much, I'll ban you. If you go even more over the line, I'll do more than that. I'll pooyah you. I'll curse you. I'll pooyah you. Okay? His name means shit now. Pooyah. The pooyah. It'll go that far. You wouldn't want to do that, would you? You wouldn't want to be that stupid, right? It's a dumb thing to do. It's a dumb thing to get triggered and hung up on a word and try to nitpick my videos, where I have over 1,000 videos, and you picked out, you're not even aware of it, but you picked out one word, whether it's the word felon, or some have picked out the word demon, and they say they don't like that I call them demons, and, oh, isn't that related to Christians or Christianity? Fuck yourself. You don't understand anything. And you won't control my language, whether it's one word, or control 100 words, or 1,000 words, or 50,000, or 100,000 words. I don't know what your vocabulary is at. If it's under 5,000 words, I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe you get so hung up on one word, and you're so offended and triggered, you have to write these long, novel-length comments, complaining, whining, bitching. Go to a safe space. Maybe you're new here. My channel is not a safe space. Okay? Study all sorts of things here, including demonology and the royals, and you name it. I look into all sorts of things. So if you're offended by the word felon or demon or demonology or whatever terms I use, if I say gingy and that sets you off and triggers you, this isn't the place for you then. Okay, you're thin-skinned. Get a thicker skin. Get a thicker skin. And that triggers some of them too. They fly off into a rage when they're told to get a thicker skin. Were you all raised by single moms? Are you soy boys? Did they feed you soy milk every day? Or, was there soy coming out of their tits when they were nursing you? I don't know what happened to you, is what I'm saying. I don't know. I don't know what happened to you. And I do have I don't know. I could be very gentle and very caring, but I can come across as kind of gruff. especially sometimes when people try to step on my toes, try to control me. Go fuck yourself if you think you're going to control me. You won't control a single word that comes out of my mouth. You won't control my language, what I say or don't say. Okay? You won't force me to say words, and you won't stop me from saying words that I want to use. Anyone listening to my voice. It's not just one person, two people, a handful. It's anyone. I don't put up with control freaks. I don't put up with tyrants, authoritarian assholes. I don't put up with woke people, feminists. I don't put up with any of that shit. Any of it. Any of it. Okay? None of it. So you better get beyond that habit, because that's a very, very bad habit. It's beyond nitpicking. It's trying to be a control freak, trying to control someone else's language. I'm a free spirit. So how far do I take it in terms of that? In terms of you trying to control what I speak and what I think? How far would I go? If you really keep stepping across that line, I won't just ban you. I'll remember you when I'm out of here. Don't try to control me. Don't try to control me. Don't try to control my language and freedom of expression. I won't tolerate it. Might just be grounding yourself here to this place by doing that, because that's stupid. And that is a form of evil. It's beyond stupidity. It's being a control freak. Okay? It's being psycho over a word that you can't handle hearing. You don't like it. Work on yourself. Get beyond being triggered by words. If I want to say devil, demon, felon, team evil, shady bunch, angry gingies, creepy creatures, whatever terms that I use, I'll continue to use them. It won't stop me, not a bit. It'll change my view of you, but it won't stop me from expressing myself the way that I see fit. Understand? Just like when I leave this realm, I'm going to do what I see fit to do. No matter what you say here. You could say every day, or you could think it in your mind, please don't do that. Don't seal this place in. Don't do this. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. Doesn't matter if you like it or not. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. I'm going to exercise my freedom and my free will. And my will is strong. My will is strong. Maybe you'll understand that one day. Maybe you can't here in this realm, but maybe you will one day. Maybe you'll see. Maybe you'll see it and learn something. Maybe you'll learn the hard way, or maybe you'll learn the easy way. That's really up to you. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I do hope you got something out of this, some moral to the story. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night. Bye.